Today we're in Genesis 42, and I want to start with a question. Has there ever been a time in your life where you were wronged or hurt by someone, and then maybe years later had a chance to come face to face with that person, and you weren't exactly sure how to respond in the situation? Well, today we're going to see a similar thing happen in the life of Joseph. You know, back in chapter 37, we know that he was sold into slavery by his brothers. And since then, God has brought him out of that place of slavery. He's now in a position of authority in Egypt. There's a famine that's occurring in the land, and he is the one that's in charge of all the remaining food. And the beginning of the chapter here, Jacob is talking to his brothers saying, we are hungry, we need food, and I know Egypt has food, so get on your way, buy us some food for our family. And quickly when they get there, they encounter Joseph. The Bible tells us, though, they didn't recognize him, but he did recognize them. Now, what caused that? Maybe is the fact that it's been 21 years since they last saw him. Time changed him a little bit. Maybe the clothes he's wearing, maybe the fact he doesn't have a beard, and then maybe just the fact that they didn't expect to see Joseph. I mean, never in a million years would they expect to find the brother they threw into slavery, the one now they're begging for food. And so they bow down at this person's feet and they begin to plead for food. And he says, no, I think you're here to be spies. He's giving them a hard time. And they kind of go back and forth in this banter a little bit. And finally they say, no, we're honest men. We're not spies. Matter of fact, we were 12 brothers of one father. One of our brothers is gone and one's still at home with dad. We just need food. And can you imagine over the years how many times he might have replayed the situation in his mind? If I ever saw my brothers again, what would I do? I mean, human nature says we want revenge. We want them to pay for what they did. And so he's probably had some of these thoughts and he's torn. He's not sure how to handle it. And what he does, he says, I want to see the youngest brother. So one of you is going to have to go back and get him in order for me to really believe you're not spies. Now, why the youngest brother? Well, it's Benjamin. And he and Benjamin share the same mom, Rachel. So there's this bond there and he wants to see him. But what he does first is he throws them all in prison. And maybe he thinks, okay, this is how I get them. I'm just throwing them in prison. And he throws them in prison for 3 days. And probably during those 3 days, he's thinking more and more about how to handle the situation. And he comes back and he says, here's the deal. One of you staying, the rest of you are going. You've got to bring back the youngest brother for me to believe you. Well, they set off on their journey. And as night falls, one of them opens their pack and they see food and they see the silver they brought to pay for the food. And they're a little scared. They're frightened. Like, not only did they put food in our bags, but he's put our silver back in our bags. Something's not right. They get home. They tell their dad what's happened. All the bags are open. All the silver's there for the food, and the food's there. And their dad's pretty troubled. He's kind of thrown into a panic. They tell him what this man of authority, Joseph, wants. And the dad says, no way. Jacob says, you guys have lost one son of mine, and one is bound there now with this man, and he wants my youngest son. There's no way. Well, when we get into chapter 43, we'll learn a little bit more what happens there. But what can we learn from just this passage today? What can we learn about forgiveness? Because truthfully, was his offering to them of food and silver without them even knowing it, was that his way of forgiving them without them even asking? I mean, why do we forgive? We forgive because God first forgave us, and over in his word, we are commanded to forgive. And so here's the challenge today for you and for me. Maybe we should just pray and ask God, is there someone in our life that we have not been able to truly forgive yet? I believe God wants us to forgive them, even if they don't ask, even if that relationship isn't necessarily restored, but that we have peace in our life knowing that we have forgiven. So ask God that today. We're going to pick up more of Joseph's life tomorrow, but see who is it today that God's putting on your heart to forgive.